Halt podcast. Let's go.
You're dealing with an expert in guerrilla warfare. With a man who's the best. With guns, with knives, with his bare hands. A man who's been trained to ignore pain, ignore weather, to live off the land. His job was to dispose of enemy personnel. To kill. Period. Win by attrition.
Yeah, it sounds fucking rad, dude.
Wow.
I always tell people not to sleep on the Zoom equipment. That's where I started with my first little handheld to go around getting extra sound. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. When I started comedy, like I use a handheld to just take notes.
Yeah.
And then we moved on to the 32 float systems, and it's pretty funny.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Secure That Podcast. As always, I am your host, and Caballero. Today with me is none other than Poopy Turds McGee, aka Jason Vest, a hilarious comedian and veteran. And today we're going to dig deep into you, my man. Your content is amazing, hilarious. There's not one single video or soundbite that doesn't hit me and bring me back to a point in time where I was traveling somewhere with my team or with my boys and engaged in some debauchery.
well, thank you. And that's kind of like the premise that I got. So I started stand-up comedy. The whole idea behind what I do on the internet is a lot of it's based off of a relationship I had with somebody I served with overseas. And he was always that dude that could like make people laugh. You know what I mean? Yeah. In the worst of situations. Like the world could be burning around you and this guy would say some dark shit and that would make everybody laugh. And so when I started getting into comedy, it wasn't working out for me. And I'm like, man, if I can just kind of be that guy, I think I might be able to turn the trajectory of whatever it is I'm trying to do. And that's exactly what happened.
He was your debauchery whisperer.
It was like, man, everybody kept telling me that I've been doing entertainment with for a little while. Jason, you need to start talking about some of this stuff. Like you need to, all the stuff you say here, you need to say there. So I hired a coach. I hired a writing coach from LA. Her name's Jessica Michelle Singleton, Comedy Store regular. And she like gave me some time and I paid her for a while and she helped me like put together some of the stuff.
That's awesome.
And so it worked. Like, that's what happens when you invest in yourself though, I guess. Like
so true.
I'm broke. I've put all my money into this.
And that's the beauty of living your dream, living your goal. And that's part of the overarching theme of today. It's when I left, when we're starting to even just formulate the idea of leaving the team, walking away from SF, I wanted to cling so desperately to what other people were doing. What was successful, or contracting, or going into sales. And everybody had an idea for me. Everybody had something for me to do that was their friend's plan or their friend's dream or something. It was always somebody else's dream. It was never my dream. And it was never that one individual's dream. It was somebody else sold them on this idea. And one of the few things I did right before I got help was I realized that I needed to get a little bit of time and space and figure out what my own dream was. And Jason, you're living proof that when we actually look inward and think about what we are passionate about, it can take us in a very non-standard path. And that's the beauty of it. We belong in every space. Veterans aren't just supposed to be doing one thing. We are human beings, brother. We should be allowed to explore. And what better thing to do than to make others laugh, man? Like, tell me about this dream. How did it start? Because I have to think that within you is the same scared person that was within me of like, I don't know what to do. Maybe I'll follow the same path others found successful.
I think what happened for me was like, I went and I did like the standard thing people do when they get out of the military. I went to work for the government as a civilian. And that's what everybody does. And the whole time I was in, man, I'm like, I got to get this federal job.
Yeah.
I got to get this GS job. I got to go work for the government and do the same shit I was doing just as a civilian. And then you'd see all those people are bitter as shit. They're bitter. They're not happy. And then, man, I became one of them. I became super toxic. I was actually toxic to the mission.
Yeah.
I was not helping the recruiting effort when I was a civilian. I was like, fuck you. I could say what I needed to say without a filter. Yeah. And so And then I'm like, man, I got to get an outlet because I had none. Because when I left the military, I was an addict and I was a drunk and I was at the lowest point of my life. Like when I say low, I didn't know how I was going to pay for shit. I had to tell my wife it was the most embarrassing shit ever. I fucked us. Like I fucked us. I'm sorry. We got real bad credit and we don't have any money and like I can't afford shit. So and I don't have a job. And so when I came back as a civilian, they weren't ready for the sober version of me. And I had to do something with it because I had all this like creativity and aggression. And so the pandemic hit and I'm like, man, I'm going to be stuck behind this fucking cubicle.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be like all these other people that are like miserable in their 60s working for the government. And so I said, I'm going to try this stand-up comedy thing. And it did not work out right away. It did. I mean, it did a little bit because I had long hair and I was wild looking and my act is a lot different than the content. And so I got a lot of attention right away because I know like with the military, it's repetition.
Yeah.
Whether that's shooting a gun or telling a joke or doing anything, it's shots at the target. And I just took that same philosophy that I learned in the military. I learned all those little stupid skills and I just applied it to the comedy thing, like the discipline, right? Like of saying, I'm going to do this every day. I'm going to force myself just like PT and all that shit. And it worked.
Wait a second. Like, you applied yourself to a craft and you honed it and it works.
And I mean, you're still honing it. And it's funny because like I'm blessed, man. Like, and I'm not religious or spiritual, but man, I'm lucky because I've got a huge head start and not a lot of people have that. And so I'm super like every day I'm thankful for the people like you, anybody that follows me, supports me, because I wouldn't be doing this. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm very lucky to have what I have I hit this July will be 4 years.
Dang.
In comedy. That's it. I'm a baby.
Yeah.
And so to have what I have at 4 years, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a gift. It's lucky. Yep. I can't, and you can fuck that up just like you can fuck up a military career. You can fuck that up, you know? And so I don't know, man. I think that, we are all cut from a different cloth, and it doesn't matter if like you're special forces or combat arms, because I'm not. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm not. But the people that reach out to me on the internet are all the SF dudes. It's funny.
It's the humor. And it's the one thing that we always had, bro. If you're in a bad spot, and I tell this to people, when you're in a bad fucking spot, the one thing that brings you back, because you're human. When chaos is happening, when you're faced with like life or death, part of you wants to just fucking like, okay, this is it. But the part that brings you back into the fight is the dark fucking humor. When you can look at your friend and be like, if we die right now, this is going to look so fucked up. The way if we were to get fucking just schwacked right now, just 3 dudes just fucking hugging for cover, this will look really fucking suspicious right now.
So when I deployed to Iraq, I volunteered, right?
Yeah.
And so I was in the National Guard and I was recruiting and I had a real problem with like, I wasn't good. I was recruiting people and I hadn't done it. So I got tired of the, well, when did you go shit from dads? And I'm like, all right, I gotta go do this. And I volunteered, but I was recruiting for a National Guard, like long range surveillance unit. So a lot of those dudes are badasses, Those guys have done some really cool shit. And so they actually got me hooked up with a medical unit. And that's how I met like my buddy Bobby. And that's how I met a lot of the community, like a lot of the community in Michigan. And that before that unit disbanded, all of those guys like hooked me up with that dude. Because I'm like, all right, they're like, go volunteer with this guy. I was a bunch of our people going with them. We didn't die. But it's funny because those guys like all come out to shows and shit, and it's fucking insane, the support. I get it.
It's family. It's you build, and it doesn't. People think that it's so divided within the military. Like I will tell you right now, some of the greatest dudes I served with, some of the greatest assets we're support guys. They weren't tab guys, but they fought right next alongside me. They brought something critical to the team that we didn't have. They were right there with it.
Like the truck drivers.
Yes.
You were a truck driver in Iraq. You've seen some shit. You know what I mean? Like, you've seen some shit. I recruited for a transportation unit, and these dudes were battle hardened.
Everybody forgets about the early years of Iraq, like when dudes with like no up armor, like welding scraps of metal to their vehicles, trying to survive through IED Alley. Like it wasn't just a happy-go-lucky time if you were a soft-skill MOS.
No, I talk a lot about my boy Bobby in a lot of my videos, right? And so, he was over there during that time. So like I was getting like email messages. He's like welding shit on vehicles.
Dude, yeah, I have to give a shout out to my buddy Jolly. Same thing. Dude's been in. I mean, he was a young kid, wet behind the ears as a mechanic in early Iraq. And people they just don't understand and comprehend how dangerous it was running supply lines, running convoys back then. But like till this day, some of the most dangerous and horrible things that dude's been through. Like after all the deployments that were super kinetic in SF, that dude had nothing but violent deployments during the early years of the GWAT. And it's like, fuck, dude, you're an anomaly. You made it through this shit. Like, you need to retire.
It's like my best friend, man. He'd been mobilized 6 times.
God.
He spent 6 years at war. And he loved it. He fucking loved it. He loved it.
Oh my gosh. When you look back at that transition period, looking at that early years of when you started the comedy, what got you into that? What was the first thing like got you into that stage for the first night?
I think what it was is my wife and I were like, yeah, we're going to do this. Or are you just going to talk about doing it? Because I've been talking about doing it for weeks. And it was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then I went once and I lasted like a minute. And then I didn't go back for like fucking 3 or 4 weeks. And then I finally went back. I got through it and I just sat through a night and I said, I'm going to go dead last. And I sat through 3 hours of open mic comedy, went up, did my thing. And I didn't do that bad. Like everyone was pretty supportive. Believe it or not, everyone was really cool. And like nobody was a dick. And I met that night, like I tour a lot with this kid that's got cerebral palsy. His name's Ronnie Rohrbeck. He's in a lot of my videos. He's in the butthole contest. And he was there. He was like one of the first people I met. So like the first dude I met is like the dude that's like my coolest friend now.
Hell
like
yeah.
I met in comedy. And I just kept doing it. And I just kept getting up. And I said, I immediately started talking about doing it, even when I wasn't ready to have people come see me. But I'm like, if I can get comfortable saying, hey, I want you to come see me.
Yeah.
And just being comfortable with that, because that's awkward as shit. Like, hey, come watch me do this thing that I may or may not do good at tonight. It's probably not going to do good because I just started doing it. But and then people would do it.
Yeah.
And so I got comfortable going, well, hey, they bought the ticket or they came to, or not even bought the ticket because I wasn't even getting paid to do it at that time. But they were coming to watch me. And I was just like, that pressure has always been there. So I'm used to it. It's like working with bullets.
Dude, I would say this. I think it's even more scary. Like I think of just thinking of getting up on stage and trying to perform. Fuck that. that is some scary shit.
I David Goggins it though, because like I look at that shit and I look at these younger kids that are talking about these shit and I'm like, fuck you. No way, dude. You're 25. He's like, I ate this chick's ass. And I'm like, no, dude, you live in your mom's basement. You do stand-up comedy and you scrape together money to buy the mandatory 2-drink minimum. That's what you do. You're not about
that life, Timothy.
So for me, almost 90% of this for me is a competitive. How far can I take it? How far can I push it? Like how far? And then to watch people that are younger than me that should do better because they know the internet better than I do. That's another thing. I have these like kids coming up to me like, "Hey man, Jason, how'd you do that shit?" I'm like, "Bro, this is your generation, not mine."
I lived this, dog.
I'm MySpace, son. You know what I mean? Like,
When now and let me know if it's too close for comfort or it's too private. But you mentioned having to go into recovery, having to admit that you had addiction. How does that play into your comedy? Like,
oh, it's every bit a part of it, you know? And it's funny because I talk about all this shit was from the past. Nothing is from current day. And so none of it is like even probably in the last 10 years.
nice.
So a lot of 90% of what I say, there's elements of truth to it. There is. I wouldn't say it if there wasn't. But it may not always be my truth.
But you're a storyteller. You can weave it in.
You can weave it in. You make it work. It's part of the character because Poopy Turds McGee is that guy that makes everybody laugh in really bad situations, right?
Yeah.
And so that is the concept. There is a concept. There is a method to this shit stories, you know. But the thing is that allows me to be able to tell other stories.
Yeah.
Because you know, man, coming from the military, you sitting around a bunch of dudes. Even the chicks got some shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I've some of the nastiest stories I've heard have been from women in the military.
It's so true. It is so true. We don't hold a candle compared to the things women can tell us that will make your stomach turn.
Our degenerate women, if they got on a stage, would crush me. Like, I'm just waiting for the female Poopy Turds McGee, some retired master sergeant that's just going to get out and be like, you know what? I'm talking about everybody I had sex with. I'm telling, this pussy's telling all. You know.
That is so true. Oh my God.
You know, but that the motivating factor because you know, you've asked me a couple times, like, what is it? And I literally think it's this competitive, like, I just have drive because I just want to see how far, like, it's like, all right, we got 53,000 followers. Let's go for 100. Yeah. Like, let's see what can happen.
Yeah. It's the way that it hits you. Like, I could be driving, I could just be scrolling across, but the moment it lands on your comedy, it sucks you right in. Like, regardless of what is going to come out of your mouth, the way that you hook the audience is like, okay, you've got my attention, sir.
But a lot of like what's on the internet, it can't be done at comedy shows. Nobody would hire me. Like there was one time I did a comedy show at this winery in Michigan, and they did not tell me that it was a clean comedy show.
Oh no.
And I wrote this song called Butt Stuff. And one of the lyrics is, do butt stuff. You can call yourself a lady. Sticking it in your rear won't make no babies. And so I get on stage and I tell the whole crowd, a bunch of people, like 300 or 400 people. I'm like, you guys want to hear a dirty joke? And they're like, yeah. Like the crowd is asking for it. So I deliver the song. And it gets a huge laugh, but the owner of this winery is just done. She's done. She's just not having it. And so I'm out back, smoking a J out back. And she comes up to me and she's like, you know, you're disgusting. She's like, you are the most disgusting human that I've ever heard. And what was coming out of your mouth wasn't comedy. It was vile filth.
Oh my gosh.
It was hilarious. But man, I'm telling you what, the crowd loved it. It was one of those, I wasn't used to that because I'm not used to like everybody liking it, but one person just really like, fuck you. But it was the lady that booked the show. And like my guy I worked for, the headliner, he's never been booked back there.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah, sorry, dude.
Oh my God. That is
And then
amazing.
then I blew up on the internet, and he knocked some chick up.
Everything works out.
Whoops.
Oh my God. Now, you recently moved to Austin, right?
I did.
What with is it the comedy scene down there that drew you?
It's a comedy scene that down there drew me. I'm really interested in like doing more stand-up comedy. I am. I haven't. I did when I was in Chicago. It's a super liberal city, and I mean Austin's pretty liberal too. But there's a big difference. It's a difference. It's a different vibe. It's a different scene. And so I decided that I wanted to come down here and try to eventually get to a point to where I could work with the mothership. That's just a big goal of mine. It's kind of cool. Something I'd like to do. Not something I don't have anything in stone yet or anything. I have to work towards that. But that's what happened with me at the Laugh Factory. I moved to Chicago and then I did Laugh Factory.
Yeah.
So it's like you just sometimes got to put yourself in those environments and then you just fight it out. You know?
Now, I know nothing about comedy, but I do, listening and being able to observe podcasts and other media. Is there a method to the madness as to like, okay, I need to get booked at this specific club, work it for a significant amount of time?
Yes. And so for me, someone like me, I don't want to travel a lot. I don't mind maybe doing like in Texas for our military fam. There's all sorts of pieces for me to perform for them here. Yeah. Right. I'm a lot of big bases. You got Fort Hood, I think Fort Bliss, all the Air Force stuff. I got stuff. If people want to see me in the military, they can do that. That was one of the reasons coming down here. Yeah. So like, because a lot of people visit San Antonio, a lot of people visit, the big bases. So I wanted to be able to have a home to perform close to my audience. And there's just a lot of people that served around here, like in Chicago, how many retired veterans are living in Logan Square? I was like the only one.
Yeah.
But here in Texas, I've met like a bunch of people that stayed here for like the tax break, because, income tax and stuff like that. So I think for me personally, I want to tackle one of the big clubs, and that was either going to be Comedy Store. And I can't afford to live in LA. Yeah. And I can really kind of barely afford to live here because it's pretty pricey, but it's not as bad as Chicago.
Yeah.
And so I can come here and try to tackle the second largest giant, which is Rogan's Club. And I have some friends that work for him now. And so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. I don't see it being a matter of it's just a matter of when, not if.
If you do the work, it's like anything. I was at an open mic last night till midnight. And I didn't get up. I didn't get to perform because there was too many people. That's the shit people don't see. Like a motherfucker. And I got a boot put on my car last night. I had to pay like $130. So I was in
just a shitty night.
Austin, Texas sucks. Like, okay, the Austin, Texas comedy, cool. Austin, Texas food, amazing. But the people of Austin, fucking garbage. Oh. Absolute, it's just a garbage. If you come, it's a garbage. It's like a dirty Nashville. It's like I was walking around downtown. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, no, there's just bars packed with people. They're packed. It's rainy. It's cold. And like the bars don't serve anything but booze. So like, hey, you want to grab some fries? No, motherfucker, beer. And like the beer people drink here is some shit called Lone Star.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're proud of their Lone Star.
I drank that when I did drink. That shit was disgusting.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I don't drink anymore. And if I had to, I certainly would not reach for a fucking Lone Star.
No, if that was going to be the thing that made me trip over, I'm like, oh, Lone Star beer.
It's like fucking Texas people. They're Whataburger and Lone Star. It's like,
but I fuck with Whataburger, dude. I do. See, I'm nasty. So I'm white trash, right? I'm like White Castle. I fuck with White Castle. And man, the first thing I got when I first got to Texas, I'm telling my wife we're getting fucking Whataburger. She's like, Whataburger. I'm like, shut up. Just shut up. And she's like, well, this is like, okay. And then she took me to In-N-Out.
Yeah.
Have you ever had In-N-Out?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I never had that shit before. And we had it. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? I was so angry. Those burgers are so tiny.
Thank you.
And it was like, this would be really good if it were, I don't know, you didn't have to order 4 of them. Like, and I'm not saying I don't have a massive appetite. Like, I've lost a ton of weight. So I don't eat fast food like I used to, but even I was like, fuck this. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I can get a triple Whataburger and it's delicious.
Oh God. Yeah.
But when I did that video yesterday, we had to go in there and use the bathroom. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, don't worry about it.
Have you gotten recognized in any of the, it's you setting up for a scene? Have people been like, oh shit?
So the weirdest place I got recognized is I used to hang out at this Korean bathhouse in Chicago. It's called King Spa, and you're naked, like completely fucking naked. Completely naked in a room full of dudes. It's all dudes.
Nice.
And like I had a lot of naked guys come up to me and like, hey, are you that guy from TikTok? And I'm like, I'm that guy from TikTok. And like I follow you. And it's all gay men, right? All gay men. And I didn't know that was like the hangout for that.
Yeah.
I thought that was just, hey, everybody's relaxing. There's dudes. I'm like, I'm not checking anybody out. No, that's the spot. And so I had to like have this dude basically like, so you're not? And I'm like, no. And he's like, well, hey, people that hang out here typically are. And I'm like, well, I didn't know. And I just kept going because I liked going to that place, but it was funny. So that was the weirdest place, completely naked. And then in the comments of some of my videos are like, we've seen your dick. I've had a few people like come back and be like, I've seen this man's dick. And then last night I got recognized as at the open mic, and there was open mics are people that don't do typically if you're doing open mics, you're not booked on shows. Yeah. I'm not booked on shows. I'm in the minors right now. I'm in the minor leagues.
You're still in the trenches.
Yeah, in the trenches. So this kid comes up to me and he's like, "You're the butthole guy." He's like, "You're the butthole guy," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the butthole guy." And then he starts bringing people over. This is the butthole guy. And so, yeah, it's funny when it happens. That's probably actually the coolest. Anybody that says that's not fucking cool is so full of shit.
They're fucking liars.
It's ruined friendships.
Really?
My God. So I used to do comedy with this Future comedy show, right? And I don't think that guy thought I was very good at comedy. I do not. I think that I sold tickets and he put me on his shows because I made him money. I do not think that he really liked me that much because I always had that like very animosity. Like, I've been doing this for 10 years.
No.
Like shit, like it always felt not. My wife said the same shit. She's like, this guy does not like you. And so I started like going to shows and like he's the headliner. And so we go all the way the fuck out to Wyoming to the middle of nowhere where no one should know me. They do.
No.
This fucking 16-year-old kid looks like he's seen a ghost. It's the prettiest butthole in Michigan. And he's running. And he's like, I'll see you May 20th. And he starts repeating back my video. So we're literally downtown Cody, and this like, teenage kid's like, did that bitch shit all over your face at that Waffle House? And meanwhile, now imagine this headliner guy is squeaky clean.
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing this tour. Like he's not dirty. And here we are on his tour, and I'm the one that gets recognized everywhere. And after that, like the dude, like we don't.
Oh man,
he don't want to work with me. He don't want to work with me no more.
That sucks. That's like you're supposed to be able to uplift each other, but I would imagine not the same. That's not.
It ain't
something.
like even in the military, dude. Like I'm like supportive of anybody.
No.
But if you do what I do and you do this comedy thing and you're at all of that, I fucking got you. If there's anything, like I got this guy out of Georgia. He's real funny. You should look him up on TikTok. He's an artillery guy from Atlanta, and his name's called Soldier Turned Artist. And he's got some pretty funny shit. Like his shit's pretty. He's another degenerate guy that I've connected through the internet. He's a stand-up comic. And I'm like, yo, you want to come do Kill Tony or one of the big podcasts or something? Like, stay here. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like,
I've started to see there's a lot more popping up on social media. A lot more veterans are taking that bold step, and that's fucking beautiful. I've run into so many veterans or guys in service where I'm like, dude, you don't belong here. You literally belong on stage. You belong in a craft where you're able to create. Like
some of these dudes are quick, man. Quick.
So good. But it's such a scary thing to be a creative. It's such a scary thing to say, I'm going to put myself out there and I'm going to put like, I have to tell you, like what you do, being willing to get up on stage, that is a different kind of courage. You're committed to a beautiful process of honing these skills, honing these jokes. You try them out and then you go out there and you go live. Fuck, dude. It's courage, a different kind, but people are just they're not willing to give themselves the ability to go out there and try it and see it.
And I think people too, honestly, like I don't know what people want. I don't really try to make something that somebody wants. I make something that maybe I would want.
Yeah.
And then I saw this video a couple of years ago from this ex-CIA dude scrolling on TikTok, right? And he talked about looking at the world, perception versus perspective.
Yeah.
So I always try to put myself, like, even no matter what, like even with a joke or a story or anything, I try to put myself in like somebody else's shoes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the listener, I guess, like.
It's so true. Yeah.
And I think when you look at that, like when I was a recruiter and I was in the military, I was like perception based, and I wasn't really looking at the bigger picture. And I'm like, man, I'd have been such a better recruiter. I was such a bad recruiter. I was so bad at that job.
It's a hard job. People shit on it all day, but fuck, I have a friend right now. She's a recruiter, and trying to reach out to kids or young adults to join the military is not an easy thing.
But I will say this much. There were elements of it I was so good at as a recruiter that is applied to me now. So on social media, I was like one of the first recruiters to pop on social media.
No shit.
Like when it came out, like Facebook really started, in the 2000s, like early 2000s and stuff like that. I was one of the first people to do that. So it's funny when I got into comedy, the first thing I did is go, you know what? I got to take this internet thing. Because if I don't do this internet thing, I ain't going to do the stage thing because of someone like me at 45 years old. I'm older than everyone. I'm a veteran. Everybody's immediately going to throw me in the political bullshit. No matter, I don't even talk about it, but you just do. That's another thing with us too, is our culturally, we get tied to politics.
100%.
And it's bullshit because it's like, you're a special forces dude. And just because maybe that's just what you wanted to do. And I know a lot of people that are left, right, and all facets in like your community. It's a weird. Dude, you guys got a weird group.
And that's what makes us amazing. That's what makes us able to understand. Like I have views on so many things that are way different than what people expect. And like I open up my emails for Q&A, and it's like I'm like, hey, dude, ask me anything. I'm gonna be able to put on the podcast. And for every wonderful question I get that's about transition or overcoming mental health issues, I get 15 are like, when are you guys going to come up and help us overturn the government? It's like, motherfucker, where have you been? This is your country too.
and And the thing is like, yeah, people like you out here trying to help the community and stuff like that. And it's like, it's because people aren't doing it.
Yeah.
And it's like people aren't doing it. And there's people that don't know that they can work in entertainment
So true.
and have worn the uniform. We just talking about this the other night. It's just like the Max's mom from Stranger Things is a retired Navy chief.
Really?
Yeah. I should know her name. I should have wrote it down, but yeah, that's we were talking, I forgot to say. So she immediately thinks I'm a disgusting human, right? But she supports daddy. She supports me because we're from the same cloth. So it's like I didn't know that. I would have never known that, unless she would have said that. And so it's like retired Navy, and then she's touring the country. Like she's doing some shit.
No shit.
Yeah. I'll send you her stuff. I just got to look it up. But I'm just saying, like, that's just one person.
Yeah.
That you know of.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's a lot of people that have served, but they're afraid to talk about it.
There are 100%. It gets to the point where it's like, I don't know if I want this badge. It almost like you have to kind of distance yourself, and it's like, no, fuck that. It's a great stepping stone. It was an amazing chapter. It should propel you to the next thing. Like, I look at guys that have retired and then sat down and just, the greatest years are behind me. It's like, no, fuck that. No, we survived all that shit. We made it through all this great shit. That should be your fucking rocket booster to push you into the next thing. Like, look at the next endeavors. Like, fuck, dude. Everybody wants to think that, like, okay, I'm 38, I'm 39, I'm 40. It's done. Now I got to get that office job and sit down. It's like, fuck that, dude.
You could go start that business, start a podcast, do something with that time. And you know what it is, though? It's that culture that's ingrained in you when you're in that if you leave this, you're going to be a piece of shit.
Yep.
And maybe that's not always directly like that, for soldiers and service members. But that's how I felt when I was in. I always felt like if I didn't do this, I'm going to be a piece of shit. Yep. And that my career started that way. Like, I joined the military. I wasn't very good in school. And I'm like, if I don't do this, I'm going to be a piece of shit. And that always kind of stayed with me, I guess. Yep. Even when I get in trouble, because I got in a lot of trouble when I was in the military. A lot of trouble. I should not have retired as an E7. It was the only rank that I hadn't held twice.
Oh my gosh, dude.
But there was like a voluntary rank reduction too. Like there wasn't always. I got reduced once and then I took a voluntary rank reduction to go do something else.
Yeah. That's tough. That's fucking tough.
Yeah. I've earned it. I've been E5 3 times.
Okay, some of the best fucking NCOs were E5s 3 or 4 times.
So when I was, and this is the funny shit about it, man. So like I was talking about my boy Bobby, he got promoted, and he was an E4, and I was an E6. I took a rank reduction to E5, and then we deployed to go overseas. At one point, I ended up like basically working for my boy Bob.
Oh man. And
he's like, yeah, well, when you get to fucking my level, bitch. Like, it was just funny. Dog me the fuck out.
That is such a crazy thing. Oh, fuck. Oh.
Yeah.
You guys still stay friends?
No, he's dead.
Oh, fuck.
No, you're good. It's okay. He died in a fiery car crash. It was actually a pretty funny story. And I can talk about it with a veteran, right? So he's a raging alcoholic, and this guy's raging. He's one of these guys that's done 6 deployments, comes home, and he is doing cocaine, and he is drinking. Fuck. And that's it. And laying tile. So like a job that supports doing cocaine and drinking, right?
And lots of European techno music.
Yeah, he calls me up one night. He's having a real bad night, dude. I'm having a real bad night. I need someone to come hang out with me. And I had a big recruiting thing the next day. And I'm like, bro, if I go out with you, I'm going to get fucking hammered and I'm not going to go to work. So no, you're on your own for this one.
Yeah.
So he crashes his car, which is tragic, but he has about $1,000 in fireworks in the back.
No.
And when he threw a cigarette and it flunked back and lit the fireworks in his car. So this guy's like in the thing, and crashed into a tree, and people can't get to him because bottle rockets are getting shot like out of the fucking vehicle, and light up the sky and everything. And like, so when I heard he died, I was really upset, and I'm like, well, how'd it happen? And and then I'm just like, no fucking way, ain't no fucking way. And then I went to the scene. Because, we're morbid military guys, gotta see it, gotta go to the source, right? I'm like, I gotta go to the scene. I get to the scene, everybody's a mess, but this old man comes out and he's like, I was getting hit with bottle rockets. And I died laughing. Because I'm like, man, if this would have happened to anybody else, Bob would have been talking about this shit for fucking weeks. Yeah. I mean, it made the news.
Oh my gosh.
And so, no, it was probably one of, I mean, it was sad, but it was fucking kind of funny because it was just like, jeez.
That's the closest thing to a Viking funeral.
and all the degenerate shit I talk about in my videos, there's some video evidence of some of it. And some of it I can edit and clean up. Well, we thought that those files were destroyed in the car accident. No, we found them.
No way.
So I found the legend files, and so I posted about it, and so we're editing them now. It's pretty funny shit. It's some pretty funny shit from a dark time that validates a lot.
the sacred humor material.
Yeah, it's like this is the original files.
Oh my God.
I'm like telling my wife, I'm like, listen, you're going to see some shit with an inflatable sheep. I just need you to fucking...
I just need you to get along.
just deal with it.
This is going to make us a cool $1.5 million. Netflix
Possibly.
is going to buy this.
Somebody. Hustler.
Oh my God. I have to ask, how has your relationship with your wife been after chasing this dream, after committing 100%? Because that's the other factor that a lot of us are always looking at and hesitant to like pull the trigger on dreams. It's like, well, I have a wife, I have kids, I have this family. How am I going to sit down with my partner and say, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z?
Man, if you want to get your spouse to go for some crazy shit, I'll tell you what, you're going to probably have to prove to them that you can handle some crazy shit first. Yeah. And so that's just some realistic shit for the vets out there. You want to go, hey, I want to go pursue that dream of entertainment, right? In your 40s. Then you better have maybe tried to do some shit. So like I had done some things. And so my wife had seen I could do some things.
Yeah.
Like early on where she was supportive, but I had to prove that. I had to still go to my significant. I think I can do this, and she's like, I think you can do this too. It was a mutual agreement.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, support this dream. So I'll tell anybody, especially because a lot of people that are come from our cloth, they are married or in a relationship or something like that. And if you want them to support that dream, you're gonna have to maybe do a little bit of work first to prove that.
Yeah, prove
you
a
really
concept.
want. Yep. And so we do this together. So she edits a lot of our videos. 90% of our videos are edited by Melissa. And to be honest, some of the videos are edited by AI. I use AI to kind of streamline some stuff to make it a little easier so we can do more content and have a life.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes the shit can get pretty time consuming.
Holy shit. Yeah. That
with the podcast, it's more get time consuming. That's why I don't do that many episodes. It's because right now I'm still trying to figure out my time shit,
Yeah. I go into this like a bat out of hell. I fucking stay interviewing, stay plugged in, and try to learn the latest and greatest things. I mastered audio first. That's the one thing I learned about and dove deep into that because I knew like, hey, maybe if my shit sucks, I can produce other people's shows. So I better learn how to produce and learn how to turn audio really fast. So that's what I dove into big time. And that was the thing that like I needed to prove to my wife, like, hey, this isn't just harebrained bullshit. Like, I can do this. And having that first, getting hired to produce that first podcast was definitely helpful. So shout out to Dan Rayburn. Thank you, my humble boss. But it's one of those things where it's like, if you really want to do this, if you want to commit the time, you got to do the work, and you got to be willing to fucking prove to your family that, like, hey, I'm not just bullshitting. Like, this is what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, and I'm like, because these kids, they're gonna. Some of these motherfuckers are gonna grind.
Yeah.
Some of them, not a lot of them, but there are some of these younger people that will grind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That have that really good work ethic, and that's your competition, and they will grind harder. They, you know, they have no attachments to shit. They don't have health insurance. You know, like, you know, I'm probably like, when I'm rich in comedian money.
Yeah.
And it's funny, but I'm just saying, like, I think that's what people don't really understand. Is like, I go grind. I was up till 4 o'clock this morning
Holy shit.
working on shit.
Dude.
That's how crazy it gets sometimes. Sometimes it's a 24. Sometimes I don't go to bed.
Fuck.
Because, you know, when you get in a grind, you get something done. And if you stay in the process, but whatever that process is, it doesn't have to be like entertainment, whatever that is, carpentry, anything. If you bury yourself in some shit in a process or system and create it, you're going to be successful.
Yeah. Let me ask you this then. What do you do to unwind?
I really don't. I mean, I think this is kind of it.
Yeah.
You know, this is kind of like my unwind stuff. I exercise. I go to do like a sauna stuff. You know, I do the hipster shit. I really watch my diet. You know, I try not to eat like shit like I did when I was in the middle of that. I'm in better shape now than I was when I was in.
Dude, it's crazy.
Fucking crazy.
It's funny when you are. I had to go through a lot of surgeries, a lot of physical therapy, in and out of treatment centers, and then you get told that, like, hey, these are your limitations, and it's easy to buy into that. It's really easy to say, okay, fuck them, that's it, all I can do. But when you're out and you're done, and you realize, like, I don't want this to be a limitation. I'm going to I'm going to work through this. I'm going to find people or doctors or specialists that can show me an alternate, different way of working out, a different way to overcome these hurdles. Because, dude, time and health, the two most precious fucking things, man. Like, I don't care if people laugh at me. I go to bed as early as possible. Sometimes I go to bed by 8 p.m. If I ain't got shit to do, or if the other thing can wait in the morning, I go to sleep, because that's the number one thing my brain needs. That's the number one fucking thing.
I'm 100% with you, man. Like, you know, like wasn't take care of myself at all.
Yeah.
And I let myself go real bad when I got out, and I got it close to 300 pounds.
Holy shit.
Now I'm 5'3". I'm short. I'm a little guy. I'm a short king, right? 5'3", 300 pounds. So some of those pictures with the long hair people see on the internet, I was sick, and I was sober. I was sober. You know, but I was probably I almost died. I had a diverticulitis episode that damn near killed me.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I became septic. I got real sick. And then when I got out of the hospital, I ended up going to a VA hospital. Almost fucking killed me.
Oh,
I was there for 15 days. And I got out, and I'm like, I am never allowing food or anything to have control over me like this again. Yeah. And I just I treat food like I do alcohol, and I do not fuck around.
Dude, thank
anymore.
you for saying that right there. People have always heard of food addiction and emotional eating from the lens of this older fucking work from home, or like a home caregiver, a wife. It happens to men too, to everybody. Emotional eating, overeating, having the capacity or the being trained as a kid to seek comfort in food happens to a lot of people. Like, it is something that affects our community. As soon as you get out, if you've had bad relationships with food, what's the easiest thing to do? Comfort eat, eating fucking sweets, eating chips. I don't want to be diabetic. And once I realized how easy it is to sit down and be like, oh, I'm just going to munch on some snacks. Like, fuck, dude. Gateway to hell.
And it's what makes me fucking crazy though is like, man, when I got my nutrition kind of dialed in, it's not perfect, but I got what I need to do to maintain this number. You know, I got that. How the fuck can the military not figure that shit out?
Right.
You know, like, I mean, I'm reading, I'm researching, I'm doing the research on my own. Should have done that when I was in the military. All on way, you know, a little bit on me, but I'm just saying, like, you know, the military is an organization designed to make you not fail.
Yeah.
It's supposed to not fail. We do not tell these guys how to eat. You know, that's one thing. We fuck that up. We show them how to work out, but we don't really show them how to, like, if you read any of those manuals, that none of that shit.
Dude, and the food court, fucking Churches or Popeyes, Chinese food, Charlie's, Burger King. there's no healthy option. The kid coming into the military is screwed if he thinks he's gonna get the best nutrition.
Yeah, and the thing is, and that's why I'm like, man, I got like it took me about a year to get my nutrition stuff figured out, but I'm just saying, like, man, that we need to they need to really invest more money in that, and I think that might fix a lot of the problem because, man, when I got my diet dialed in, the weight just fell off. I wasn't even having to exercise that much.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's easy. It's easier to look at what you're putting into your body and realize that if you just shop on the outside aisles of the grocery store,
that's it.
and never dive into the processed shit, you're gonna be good. And then drinks, the friggin' sugary and alcoholic drinks.
Yeah, man. And I had the military diet. So my days, I worked at the MEPS for recruiting. I ran that. That was my job. I get up in the morning, I go to 7-Eleven, I get 3 taquitos. 3 taquitos.
Standard.
3 taquitos, 2 orange monsters, and I would get a banana for $5.
That's pretty healthy.
Yeah, that was like my breakfast. That's how I started my day. Lunch rolls around. I'm getting one of them recruiters to go get me some food. So I'm like, all right, somebody's going to get me food. I'm not paying. Who's buying? And I was at Burger King. And then I'd go on my way home. I'd stop by 7-Eleven. I'd drop down another couple taquitos on the way home. It was bad, man. It was, but that was, yeah, I started my day.
It's easily like 8,000-9,000 calories right there.
Yeah, 3 taquitos, a banana, two orange monsters. Oh yeah, and throw down some cigarettes.
Vitamin nicotine.
Yeah, and it was usually Camel Crush cigarettes. But when I worked,
fuck,
yeah, kind of little bubble
with a little, yeah. I used to smoke, and I too enjoyed those because you get to crush it in.
There's nothing more white trash than a Camel Crush cigarette
or Marlboro Smooths.
And whenever I met a woman, a young lady, and she loved the Camel Crush, she's like, butt stuff's going down. Like,
hello, my lady. May I pop your menthol crystal ball?
Yeah, like, yeah. Whenever a lady's like, she pulls out Camel Crush, it's like, oh, we have a lady in the room.
Oh my god, man.
Might I light your Camel Crush?
I can't wait till the Netflix special that comes out, man. I honestly, I can't thank you enough for being here today, man. You are
Danny, man. This is awesome. Thank you. I needed this, man. Thank you.
It's my pleasure, dude. It's if you're listening out there, you're a veteran, or hey, not even a veteran. You're one of the followers that's just happened to come across the show. Don't spend your life living somebody else's dream. Listen to that again. Don't spend your life living somebody else's dream. Have the courage and the audacity to dig deep and find out what you want to do. So, Jason, thank you for being here today. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for making millions of us laugh and think back to our days in the military. It is an absolute pleasure. I hope to have you back on again someday. So please.
Yeah, let's do this again, man.
Heck yeah. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, Danny.
If you like what we're doing and you're enjoying the show, don't forget to share us, like us, subscribe, and head on over to our Patreon where you can be part of our community and get access to all of our episodes as soon as they drop. And remember, we get through this together. Take care.